Okay, so this is the review for 8.1 to 8.3. So for the first two questions, you are finding the geometric mean between two pairs of numbers. So if you recall from our notes, for finding geometric mean, you will be taking the square root of a times b. So when I look here, I have a and b. I'm going to find the product of those two numbers, take the square root, and when I take the square root of 96, I get 9.8. I'll be doing the same thing over here for number 2. Let's move down to numbers 3 and 4. I'll zoom in on number 3 to start off. Whenever you are looking at a problem like this where you have two of your legs here and you need to find out what your altitude is, that's going to be a good place to start. So when I look at my pink triangle, if I focus on 8 and x, 8 is my short leg, x would be my long leg. So that's going to be the ratio that I use to prepare this. So short leg for the pink triangle is 8, long leg is x. If I now focus on the yellow triangle, my short leg is x and my long leg is 23. So I'm going to cross multiply, solve for x, and I get that x is 13.6. So now I'll be using that in the future if I need to use this length. Next, I can either choose to focus on y or z. I just picked z. So when I think about what two triangles use z in it, I think about the big green triangle, and I also think about the smaller yellow one. So when I focus on the yellow one, I've been given 23 and I'm looking for z. So 23, if I look at that yellow triangle, would be my long leg. Z would be my hypotenuse. So that's going to be the ratio that I use to set this up. So long leg is 23, hypotenuse is z. The green triangle also uses it, and in my green triangle, z is my long leg, and this full length here of 31 is my hypotenuse. So I'll cross multiply and solve again at 26.7. And then lastly, I'm going to solve for y. So when I think about y, the two triangles that use y are my big green triangle and the smaller pink one. When I look at that pink one, my short leg is 8 and my hypotenuse is y. So when I go to find y, that's going to be the ratio that I used to set up. So short leg was 8, hypotenuse was y. When I think back to the big green triangle, my short leg was actually y in this instance, and my hypotenuse was the full length of 31. I cross multiply and solve and get that y is 15.7. Number 4. Just like I said last time, if you have the altitude, I'm going to use these three lengths to find what's missing. So I'm missing x here. So if I think about my pink triangle here, I have a short leg and a long leg. So 2 over 3 equals, my short leg for the yellow triangle is 3, but my long leg is x. That's what we're solving for. So I cross multiply and get that x is equal to 4.5. So I'm going to plug that in here. Z is actually pretty simple. I'm looking at the full length of this hypotenuse for the green triangle, which means I just add these two segments together and get 6.5. So that one was pretty simple. Lastly, I'm looking for y. So the two triangles that use y are going to be my green triangle, that's the big one, and my smaller pink triangle. When I think about my big green triangle here, this is my short leg, and the green leg is my hypotenuse here. So that's going to be the ratio that I use, short leg and hypotenuse. I'll zoom out a little. So short leg for my green triangle was y, hypotenuse was 6.5. Then I have for the pink triangle, my short leg is 2, and my hypotenuse for the pink triangle is in fact y. So when I cross multiply, I'm going to go through and simplify, and I get that y is equal to 3.6. Let's go and talk about number 5. So this is when you're using the Pythagorean theorem, which is section 8.1. So you always want the hypotenuse to be by itself. So here, hypotenuse is always across from your right angle. So when I set up my Pythagorean theorem, I get x squared plus 21 squared equals 34 squared. Ooh. All right, so this gives me x squared plus 441 equals 1156. I'm going to go through, get x alone. This gives me x squared equals 715. I take the square root of both sides, and I get 26.7 for my value for x. Moving on to number 6. I highlighted the hypotenuse. which is in fact x this time. It is across from the right angle. So this is going to give me 22 squared plus 34 squared equals x squared. So I have 484 plus 1,156 equals x squared. When I combine those two, I get 1640 is equal to x squared. I'll take the square root of both sides. And I get 40.5 equals my value for x. Next page. I highlighted the hypotenuse once again. Now, for the bottom of this triangle, you are given this entire length as 18. You have an isosceles triangle, which means each one of these smaller segments is 9. So when I look now at this triangle, I have 9 squared plus x squared equals 26 squared. So that gives me 81 plus x squared equals 676. I'm going to isolate x. I get 595 equals x squared. Take the square root of both sides. And I get 24.4 is equal to x. Number 8. Once again, across from your right angle, there is your hypotenuse. There we go. So I have x squared plus 14 squared equals 16 squared. (14 squared gives me 196. 16 squared gives me 256. Minus 196, I get x squared is equal to 60. All right, taking the square root of 60 gives me 7.7. Wonderful. Moving on to numbers 9 through 14. Just a quick remember for these rules here. Okay, when you are setting up, we know that if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, we have a right triangle. These are the two new rules that we talked about in this chapter. So if we square that hypotenuse and it's greater than the sum of my two other sides squared, that gives me an obtuse triangle. And if it ends up being less than the sum of my two other sides squared, it gives me an acute triangle. So let's go through and figure some of these out. Number 9. So I like to write out my hypotenuse over on the left. So 20 squared gives me 400. This gives me 100 plus 121. So I have that 400 is greater than 221. So because it is greater, this makes this obtuse. All right, let's look at number 10. So my hypotenuse is 49. And then I have 12 squared and 14 squared. Oh, let's refocus this here. Thank you. This gives me 2401. And if I go through 12 squared, 14 squared, 144, 196. I'm noticing when I combine these, this is very, very large compared to 340. Are these even the lengths of a triangle? All right, well, I should have checked this in the beginning. 12 plus 14 equals 26, which is smaller than 49. So this is not a triangle. So I should really check that first before we go through. So that was number 10. If I combine 5 root 2 and 10, that is definitely giving me a sum greater than 11. So I do have a triangle here. Let's check it out. 11 squared, 5 squared of 2 squared, plus 10 squared. So 11 squared is 121. 5 squared of 2 squared Let's see, 5 squared is 25, and that'll give me 2, so that's 50 plus 100. So that is smaller than 150, so this is a cube. Number 12. All right, first off, let's check. 21.5 plus 24. That gives me 45.5, which is smaller than that third side, so this is not a triangle. $13. 30 and 40 gives me 70. That's larger than 50. So let's do the math. So 50 squared is 2,500. This is 900 plus 1,600. Since these are equal, I have a right triangle. $14. 65 and 72, when I add those together, are definitely larger than 97. So I have my hypotenuse. And my other two sides, I'm going to add them together. 97 squared is 9,409. This gives me 4,225, 5,184. This is 9,409 equals. Let's look now at 15 through 22. So you're going to be seeing special right triangles here. This was section 8.2. All right. 45, 45, 90. Both of my legs are the same. You're going to multiply your one of your legs by the square root of 2 to find x, and that would be my answer. 16, another 45, 45, 90. This time I have the hypotenuse, so to find the short leg, I divide by the square root of 2, but we need to rationalize that denominator. So this gives me 45 square root of 2 over 2. You can go through and simplify that if you would like. This would essentially also be 22.5 square root of 2 if you wanted to simplify it further. You don't have to. 17. Another 45, 45, 90. Both of the legs are 22. Hypotenuse would be 22 square root of 2. 18. 30, 60, 90. So all three lengths will be different. I have my short leg here. To find my long leg for y, I'm taking my short leg, and I'm going to multiply it by the square root of 3. To find my hypotenuse, I take the short leg and multiply it by 2, so I get 18. 19. You have the hypotenuse, so I need to work backwards to find the short leg. So when you go through to do that, you're taking the hypotenuse, dividing it by 2. This gives me 2 square root of 3. That's my value for y. To find the long leg then, you are taking your short leg, multiplying it by the square root of 3. So this gives you 2 times the square root of 9, which is the same thing as 2 times 3, since the square root of 9 is 3, which gives you 6. $20. You have the short leg. Getting bunched here. You have your short leg. To find your hypotenuse, you are multiplying it by 2. So your hypotenuse is 40. Short leg, you're taking, long leg, you're taking your short leg, multiplying it by the square root of 3. 21, you have your hypotenuse, divide by 2 to get your short leg. So 98 divided by 2 gives me 49. And then you're taking your short leg times the square root of 3 to find your long leg. Last question. One of the displays at a botanical garden is an herb garden planted in the shape of a square. The square measures 6 yards on each side. So what we're going to do here is we're going to figure out how long the pathway must be in between the gardens. So if you look here, these sides are equal, which means we have a 45, 45, 90 triangle. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm finding the hypotenuse. So all we have to do is take one of my legs, right, so the pathway, I'm taking one of my legs and multiplying it by the square root of 2. And that would be it.